UFC Austin recently wrapped up, and I am going to recap the entire card. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Let's start it off. First fight of the night. We had the ladies going after it. It was Veronica Hardy versus Jamey-Lyn Horth. Veronica Hardy has improved tenfold since that Biamalecki loss that led into her temporary retirement. And she definitely got a clean W over Horth. In what was a competitive fight, I thought it was probably fair that Hardy could have got it 2-1. I wouldn't have freaked out about Jamey-Lyn Horth getting it 2 rounds to 1 either. It was pretty close and coin flip-like after the first round. Definite first round was the clearest round, and that was a Veronica Hardy round. Her striking's fast. She's definitely gotten better for sure. She's young at 28, so it's interesting to see like where she'll climb. She's training with Dan Hardy, her husband, who obviously has a great MMA mind, being a former world title challenger. And the skill improvement is clear because Jamey-Lyn Horth came into this fight undefeated. She looked like a menacing force, but Veronica Hardy got a hard-fought win. Third round, Horth for sure. First round, Hardy for sure. Second round, competitive. Coin flip like. They give it to Hardy. I think she might have got it by just a smidge. But nonetheless, I think you can't complain about this as like a controversial decision or anything like that. Give it to Hardy for the W. It was a nice performance. And she's still young. And I'm excited to see the improvements. Next fight on the card, Jared Gooden versus Wellington Turman. This was actually a great fight because the first round, Wellington Turman was beating up Jared Gooden and looked like he was going to have the best performance of his UFC career. He hurt Jared Gooden at the start of the second, rushed, got caught himself, was rocked badly, and then he tied up with Jared Gooden. Gooden does a throw, ends up on top of him, finds the choke, strangles him rear naked. Wellington Turman, if you really look at it from that punch that landed, he was absolutely rocked. So he couldn't even defend the submission. He seemed confused on the ground. He was holding on for dear life. And then after the fight, like I don't know if he had a broken clavicle or his shoulder popped out of place, but he seemed visibly in pain and like his shoulders looked slightly out of position. So interesting if we'll get any updates on Turman's injury status. I'm curious what it might be. Gooden with a career moment, getting a sick win, 2 days, day before his birthday, actually. Shit. His birthday is literally like days away. So, hey, happy birthday to Jared Gooden. He got it done. Turman looked better than he'd ever looked before. He rushed it for one instance, and then he ends up losing the fight. Gooden's got power. You can't just rush in on him. Turman, unfortunately, another L. Gooden, great win. Rodolfo, Bellato, and Ihor Potieria. These guys went to war. It was an epic comeback win for Bellato. He was getting outstruck in the first round and beaten up. In the second round, he was rocked badly and seemed like he was going to end up getting knocked out. Potieria dropping bombs of hammer fist on Bellato from top. Potieria kind of gassed himself, though. He was really trying to get Bellato out of there, and it seemed like he would have been pretty close to it because he had hurt him. Bellato's up on his feet. Bellato's in Potieria's face. Bellato lands, I believe, a nice elbow. He puts pressure on Potieria. The takedowns start working. He gets to mount. He unloads a barrage of ground and pound from full mount. And the referee's forced to jump in because there were so many unanswered strikes. Bellato definitely got touched up on the feet, though. Potieria doesn't have the gas tank, but he definitely's got some cracking power in his hands. Bellato had to overcome a lot, though. Like, this was a rough debut. This wasn't a debut that gives me a ton of confidence in him moving up the ranks as, somebody to throw down money on or even to be confident in with a pick. He's still only 27, though, and nonetheless, he showed a lot of heart in this fight, but he was badly hurt. I'm excited for more with Bellato because he has a fun forward pressure-based style, and the dude doesn't quit, so I definitely want to see more for Potieria. They'll keep him around too. I mean, he was looking really good. I say he's like technically superior and faster than Bellato, but the gas tank gave out. Bellato finished him off. Good win for Bellato on the comeback, but a lot closer than the odds had it. Next fight, Drakkar, Klose, and Joe Solecki. This was epic. Joe Solecki gets a takedown early, ends up getting reversed. Drakkar Klose on top in the guard. Solecki shoots for an armbar. Drakkar Klose says, fuck it, picks up Solecki and slams him on his temple, knocking him out with a slam. This is like an age-old saying. It was, if you slam into a submission, it only gets tighter. Well, this card here might prove that to be a bit of an old wives' tale that maybe was used by submission aces to not get slammed on their head. Granted, the other side of the argument is this UFC Austin mat was a lot harder than the UFC's traditional mat because this wasn't the only slam knockout. We'll get to it. Solecki, though, got highlight reels power bomb slammed by Drakkar Klose, who gets an epic W and like Rampage Jackson style slams Joe Solecki. It was epic. Drakkar Klose got a sick win here. The slam was awesome. His stock jumps back up with a nice win. And Solecki, unfortunately, KO'd, man. What can you do? You're in the armbar. You have the armbar. You're locking it in. You get slammed. Fuck it. He got knocked the fuck out. Drakkar Klose looked nasty. Next fight, Cody Brundage. We had another slam here. Another submission attempt. This time, Reese is shooting for a triangle on Cody Brundage, and Brundage slams him and throws ground and pound. We rarely see slam knockouts, and then we get them back to back. This UFC Austin card was blessed. As far as the entertainment value, picks-wise, we'll get to it at the end. That was warfare, and I think it was probably warfare for a lot of you making picks out there. Cody Brundage got a sick upset, slam knockout of Reese, and this proves to the point, man. Sometimes a slam is your best defense against an armbar or a triangle. I would like to see more of them. Maybe this is a skill that's going to come back to the game. It's like after Rampage was doing it, like faded out for some reason. These two guys showed that it still works, and maybe this starts a trend of more slam knockouts, which is kind of scary because getting slam KO'd is fucking dangerous. Holy shit. Fighting is dangerous, but slammed on your head KO'd, that's crazy. And you know what, though? As a sick fan, I absolutely love every violent moment of this card, specifically the slams. And Cody Brundage got a nice upset win here, and he ain't getting cut from the UFC now. And I actually know who I think he should fight next. I'll talk about that when I get to the guy who I think he should fight next, who's also on this card. Let's keep running. Miesha Tate, featured prelim. This one right here made me happy because, you know, I picked it right as an underdog, and I was struggling with the damn prelims. But this one here, things move beautifully. Miesha Tate clearly out-wrestled Julia Avila. Like, Avila looked like her wrestling was, you know, 1 star at best. There wasn't any takedown defense. And Tate was consistent on the attack, beating her up from top. And then she was able to get the rear naked strangle. It's more of like a neck crank, though. It was epic. Miesha Tate just looked so strong. Avila was done after the rear naked. Like, it was pushing on her face. She's like, fuck this, tap, tap. Miesha looked in prime form. I don't know what the UFC wants to do, but I would like to see a rematch with Holly Holm for Miesha Tate at this point. Instead of like giving her this new blood and contenders, why not set up a fight that like I'd be interested in seeing at UFC 300 in a rematch? Miesha Tate, Holly Holm 2. Let's run it back. Let's give Miesha Tate another crack at a big opportunity. And even though you could say, oh, but like, you know, Holly's out of the title picture too. Exactly. It's like, it's, you know, I don't know. Is it a super fight? You know, it's a female super fight. Yes, it is. Miesha Tate, awesome W. Awesome win. Dominant wrestling. She looked better than she'd looked in a long time. Snaps the losing streak, too. Next fight, our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It was Dustin Stoltzfus versus Punahele Soriano. Can we talk about the disappointment of Punahele Soriano? He's turned out to be a bust. A complete bust. Because Dustin Stoltzfus kicked his ass in the striking and in the grappling. And Stoltzfus, I didn't think, should have had the striking tools to do that to Soriano. Damn, I was wrong. The wrestling was on point, and then he locks up the rear naked. It was a face crank that then Soriano ended up, you know, it went under the neck. If it found its way under the neck because Soriano was finished. Let's be honest here. I think that this was a breakout performance for Dustin Stoltzfus. He looked in great shape. He had a good striking game from the outside, good straight punch. Wrestling was on point. Gas tank was there. Punahele Soriano did not have anything for Dustin Stoltzfus in this fight. Well, I guess besides a southpaw stance overhand left, that's all he was throwing. And Stoltzfus was reading it, and he fucked him up. really good win for Dustin Stoltzfus here. This was a massive upset I didn't see coming. That was like a wow performance. So for Dustin Stoltzfus, I think we do him and Cody Brundage next. Who's not interested in that fight? I'd like to see it. Both guys were on bad losing streaks. Granted, Brundage DQ in the last fight, but you know what I'm saying. I think those two facing off is an interesting clash. I'd watch it. I'd sign up for Stoltzfus versus Brundage next. I'll pick that. Next fight is Joaquim Silva versus Clay Guida. In a gutsy effort, Clay Guida unfortunately lost the decision. Joaquim Silva, pretty precise with the striking in the first round, had Clay Guida hurt, but Guida tough as they come. Second round, Guida was able to win, and then third round, Joaquim Silva found his range, defended takedowns, and got a deserving win. But Clay, he gave it hell till the very end. Like, you got to respect Clay Guida because he got hurt with shots, and a lot of guys would have crumbled, and they would have said, fuck this, I'm done. Joaquim Silva was all over him at one point after cracking him with a nice uppercut. But he didn't break because Clay doesn't break. And even though this is a loss here, it doesn't really feel like it does much damage to Clay Guida's career. I'd like to see them bring Clay out for UFC 300. Give him one more. Why not? He definitely doesn't need to retire. I mean, he was still competitive with Joaquim Silva, who was competitive against Arman Tsarukyan. And Tsarukyan, we'll talk about that main event soon. Tsarukyan looked good. Yeah, Joaquim Silva had a hard time with Clay, but got the win over a legend in a fight by decision that, you know what, you knew Clay would give him difficulty with some wrestling. And Clay's always tricky to hit on the feet. Good win for Joaquim, though. He's interesting because I feel like he's definitely not top caliber in the rankings. Like, I don't know. Joaquim Silva, he's outside of that upper echelon. It's like, where do they even place him as far as an opponent for him? Like, would you give him somebody like a Drakkar Klose? Nah, I think Klose maybe deserves a bigger name after beating Solecki like that. When I think about lightweight, I'm just thinking about like unranked guys. Mark Madsen, but he just got knocked out, so it wouldn't really be much of a clash. We'll see what they do with Joaquim Silva, but I will be interested because he has power. He's got solid jiu-jitsu, and he got a win over the legendary Clay Guida, man. Next fight on the card, Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. Can we talk about the dud of the night? Not this fight, Kelvin Gastelum. Sean Brady looked awesome. Sean Brady looked like a potential future title challenger. Kelvin Gastelum looks like a corpse of what he once was. He got outworked, outpositioned in 99% of the grappling exchanges between these guys. Sean Brady was taking down Kelvin Gastelum like he was Blood Diamond. It seemed like Kelvin Gastelum's takedown defense totally went out the window. I was mesmerized by how easy Sean Brady was taking him down. Now, is it that Sean Brady's just that good? Maybe. Or is it that Kelvin Gastelum doesn't have what he once had? He's been through a lot of wars, and I know he's young in years at 32, but if you look at the career, 18-9, a lot of battles throughout his run, a lot of legendary fights. In all actuality, if we really look at his career, he already peaked probably with his middleweight prime, like when he was able to go out and fight Israel Adesanya in a 5-round war in a challenge for the interim belt. That right there was the peak Gastelum, a championship fight that he went to war and he did lose. Here he just got outpositioned every second, like the whole damn fight. He looked like the smaller guy too after coming down from 185. So I don't know what's next. For Gastelum taking a loss like this, it's one of those losses where you can look in the mirror and say, fuck, maybe I don't got it no more. Or I still want to fight. Maybe I got to jump back up to 85. Fuck the weight cut. Maybe Gastelum's just better with fat on him, man. He's 32 now. He did everything right to get in, on weight, in shape. He got worked. Is it, though, that Sean Brady is just reaching a new level? Maybe. We'll find out with Sean Brady's next fight, really where it's at. Because Sean Brady looked more dominant than ever before. He destroyed Kelvin Gastelum. It was an easy win. And even on the feet, he was landing strikes. So, sick W for Sean Brady. Absolutely epic W. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card. It was our featured bout. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Rob Font. Holy shit. Deiveson Figueiredo had the breakout performance at 135 he needed. And now he's a player in this weight class towards the upper echelon. because he just beat up Rob Font and he hurt Rob Font a few times in the fight. It was one-way traffic. He looked good, man. The wrestling was on point. The power moving up in weight. I will admit this. I was wrong about my anticipation of Deiveson Figueiredo's power not really being carried up in weight with him. That was off. That was definitely a bad call because he had more power maybe now than he ever did before because he was able to hurt Rob Font, who's got really good boxing. He's a player at 135's top 6, I would say. Let me see. Let me pull up the UFC rankings and let me see who I think could be next for the new look Deiveson Figueiredo. So he just beat the number 8 guy in the world. If you want to take him on, the slower trek, you could give him like the winner of Song Yadong and Chris Gutierrez. They're not going to do that. So I'm looking at Aljamain Sterling. He said he's moving up to fight Max Holloway or potentially Holloway. Merab Dvalishvili, who wants to fight against Henry Cejudo. Corey Sandhagen, who's supposed to be fighting against the likes of Umar Nurmagomedov, maybe. But if that fight doesn't come to fruition, Deiveson Figueiredo, Corey Sandhagen intrigues me. Piotr Jan, who's number 5. Deiveson Figueiredo, Piotr Jan is also a really interesting fight. And that's something I could see. I think Merab Cejudo, number 1 contender or number 2 contender fight, tricky because Corey Sandhagen might deserve that spot. Or you just go Sandhagen, Merab. They throw the Cejudo fight out. I'm not trying to matchmake the whole bantamweight division right now, but I'm just trying to see where does Deiveson Figueiredo fit into this. A Piotr Jan fight or a Corey Sandhagen fight makes a ton of sense to me. I doubt they give him a Merab, but would I watch it? Yes. It's an intriguing fight because Deiveson Figueiredo has a good wrestling base. I'd like to see it. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's just Henry Cejudo, is training Deiveson Figueiredo. If that's supposed to be his fight, then no. Yeah, at 135 pounds, though, Deiveson Figueiredo definitely looked stronger and more powerful than I anticipated him to look. So great win for him. It was epic, man. Rob Font unfortunately sent back, but he lost to, the former flyweight champ and a guy that's very good. Co-main event of the evening was a painful one to watch. Bobby Green got knocked out in the first round by short notice replacement Jalen Turner, who had a sick performance. But what was the most sick part about the fight is the fact the referee let Bobby Green eat tons of extra shots after he was already knocked out. To me, it looked clear as day after Bobby got cracked and went down that the fight was over. Okay, 1 ground strike lands, 2 ground strikes lands, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many. I didn't count. But I know there was like 11 seconds of just ground and pound where Bobby was unconscious and just eating shots. That referee job was horrible. And Kerry Hatley, normally, I think, is a fine referee. I don't think I've ever complained about a Kerry Hatley stoppage before. But that was like Mario Yamasaki Prime-esque. Like that right there was, if he dies, he dies. That was the mentality of the ref at that point. Because Jalen Turner had clearly won the fight and it was over. And Bobby Green on the feet, he just was getting caught on the outside. His hands are low, and then boom, Jalen hit him with the money shot. Jalen Turner's like not even fair to be at 155 pounds because the dude is so athletic, has power, and he's 6'3". I just want to see more of Jalen Turner. I think he's a nightmare matchup for like anybody at 155. Like, look at how hard it was for Mateusz Gamrot to beat him. He had a war with Dan Hooker that ultimately he lost, but it was still a good performance nonetheless. And if you look at the lightweight division, beating a Bobby Green on short notice was genius. I think it worked out so good for Jalen Turner. So now we have to wonder, who does he fight next? Now, if Benoit Saint-Denis is not getting a crazy big fight, I could see Jalen and Benoit. But the fight that I think I kind of want to watch next would be like a Jalen Turner versus Drew Dober. I know Renato Moicano called out Jalen Turner. I like that fight too. I'd say Dober, Turner, or Moicano, Turner, both live. Or if he's fighting up in the ranks, you could give him a Benoit, but it depends what they want to do with Benoit, or even an RDA. But I don't know. RDA, is he going to drop back down? Be kind of a weird fight. Maybe skip that one. But I also want to see Moicano versus Drew Dober face off. But I could see Jalen Turner versus either Moicano or Drew Dober. As the matchmaker right here, right now, I think I have to give Money Moicano a chance for a big fight. I'd like to see that matchup. I'm in on that. But the UFC might go a different direction, man. They might go Benoit Saint-Denis versus Moicano and then Dober versus Jalen Turner. Which that'd be like a weird fight because the size difference. I'd assume that Jalen would knock out Drew Dober. The Moicano fight's more intriguing to me. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Drew Dober is also interesting. Look at that lightweight. Shit. I need to start playing matchmaker for the whole damn division more often because I'm like intrigued by every possible fight. For Bobby Green, he sent out the rankings. I don't know. Maybe some time off. Rematch with Jared Gooden. Fight with Matt Frivola. Unfortunately, dude, Bobby Green just took a loss that a win here would have given him endless options. But this loss, it sends him back harsh, man. It sends him back badly. So, great performance for Jalen Turner, and I'm happy for him. But you got to be sad for Bobby Green because, like, maybe a McGregor fight could have happened with a win. Main event of the evening. It was Arman Tsarukyan versus Beneil Dariush. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Arman Tsarukyan destroyed Beneil Dariush. It was a knee up the center that did not land, but it made Beneil Dariush react, followed by a right straight down the line that flattened Beneil Dariush in 1 minute and 4 seconds. Arman Tsarukyan destroyed Beneil Dariush with ease. Quick knockout win. It was bad loss for Dariush, man. It was a really bad loss for Dariush. Arman looked like a killer with the ground and pound from top two. Beneil was flat out. For Arman Tsarukyan, this was the win of a lifetime. For Beneil Dariush, this is the loss that totally changes the trajectory of where he's going. Like, if he keeps fighting, now he's going to be, upper echelon gatekeeper. He's no longer going to be the guy in the top spots. For Arman Tsarukyan, the way that he ran over Beneil Dariush was more impressive than what Charles Oliveira did. And you got to be truthful here. Arman Tsarukyan, Charles Oliveira, it's a fight that I'm intrigued by. The option 2 is Mateusz Gamrot is also in the mix, and he does have a win over Arman Tsarukyan, though controversial. And the way Arman Tsarukyan dispatched Beneil Dariush, who has a win over Mateusz Gamrot, was insane. Like, Arman Tsarukyan's performance couldn't have gotten any better. This was the best win he could have ever gotten. Moving forward, I think that it's only top caliber fights. The names that make sense would be an Oliveira, potentially a fight against Makhachev. But I feel as though he might need that Oliveira fight. If the UFC is not going the direction of Oliveira Makhachev 2, wouldn't be shocked by an Oliveira Tsarukyan fight, especially as good as Tsarukyan looked here against Beneil Dariush. Now, Arman Tsarukyan could definitely be booked for a Mateusz Gamrot rematch because Gamrot's surging right now again, and he looked really good against Fiziev last time out, and I could see that matchup being made. This is an interesting damn division. Lightweight division is epic, guys. I want Arman Tsarukyan versus Gamrot 2. Simply because I want Charlie O to get another chance against Islam. And in all actuality, I don't think Justin Gaethje, the BMF champ, is fighting Tsarukyan. I think more likely Gaethje wants that Makhachev fight, maybe would wait in the sidelines. I don't know, fight a BMF fight against X person. I don't know, Max Holloway. I don't know. Just ideas. But Arman Tsarukyan looked like a world beater. He wants the title. I know him and Islam Makhachev 2 is definitely a high likelihood rematch. It's like Arman looks so good, but I'm still not convinced he's beaten Islam Makhachev, though. I think they could have a hard 5. I'd want to see it. Arman gave him hell the first time. He got a sick W here. Arman Tsarukyan's in the mix, though. And I'm interested to see how far he can take it. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if we see a belt around Arman's waist. It's just the hill to climb beating Islam Makhachev. Maybe it's the Dagestani bias, but it seems impossible. But maybe I'm wrong. For Benny Dariush, I think he needs a long layoff, man. That knockout was really fucking bad. I think there's even a chance he considers retirement because that type of knockout loss, it could weather your confidence back to back. And it's like, I'm going to say this. I think his chin is damaged now because of that Oliveira loss. Now this loss, you could end up getting knocked out in one shot. Benny Dariush went from top contender to, essentially falling off with the top guys here. Like, if you look at the division, do we do Beneil Dariush down the line when Fiziev's ready to come back? Do we run Benny versus Fiziev? I mean, we could. Benny versus RDA is a fight I want to see. I'm picking Beneil Dariush versus Dos Anjos. Let's get Dos Anjos back down to 55. Maybe they do that fight. But Dos Anjos might take one in the in-between. I don't know how long Dariush is going to need off. So realistically, timelines might work out for a Beneil Dariush versus Fiziev fight. That could be really interesting. I'm curious how far back in the rankings he falls, because he has a win over number 6, Mateusz Gamrot. But they might use him as more of an opponent role. We'll see what they do, man. I'm looking at Benoit Saint-Denis' name at number 11. Benoit is surging right now. And I wouldn't hate that fight, but I mean, I feel like it might go similar to this one. Benoit Saint-Denis. It's just I don't think that the Dariush chin is there right now. And I never felt like he had this great head movement or epic reflexes. If he can get fights to the ground and control, or if he can land big shots. But we've seen Beneil Dariush KO'd in the past a lot. Edson Barboza, Alexander Hernandez, Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan. It's not the first time. But this right here was a sick win for Arman nonetheless. And I was so impressed. Sick win. Arman Tsarukyan, he's a problem. He's a legit problem. Now, as far as the picks, oh my gosh, they were abysmal. Let me know in the comments, what was your pick record? And don't lie. Be honest. Don't say, bro, I was 9-3 when really you were 3-9. So let me know the truth. For me, holy hell, they went to shit. 4 wins, 8 losses. Really bad. Underdog, I went lock. Kelvin Gastelum, absolutely shit the bed. He got submitted with the Kimura. And yeah, it was a brutal fight, and it was disappointing to see. Throughout the card, I mean, we'll run through it. Won with Tsarukyan, lost with Bobby Green over Turner, lost with Font with Figueiredo, lost with Gastelum and Brady, won with Silva and Guida, lost with Soriano and Stoltzfus, won with Tate and Avila, lost with Reese with Brundage, lost with Solecki and Klose, won with Bellato Potieria, lost with Turman Gooden, and lost with Horth Hardy. But hey, you know what? We did finish with the main event right. And I called a knockout too. So nonetheless, I got to be somewhat grateful. As far as the UFC card went, though, I would say this is like as good as it can get for a UFC fight night. I'm searching something up right now if you're wondering what I'm typing, because I want to cover one more fight on the evening that I feel like is worth mentioning, man. Mike Perry, Eddie Alvarez went down. And it was a crazy 2-round war in BKFC where both guys gave it absolute hell, and Eddie Alvarez was rocking Mike Perry. Now, second round, I do think Mike Perry probably got the better of Eddie Alvarez, and he started backing him up, and Perry's chin is just legendary because he can eat bombs. But in that first round, like, his knees buckled. Granted, Alvarez looked stunned very, very early, like in the first 10 seconds of the fight. Perry ate some big bombs, his face swollen, Alvarez bleeding everywhere, eyes shut. He can't see. They stop it in the corner after the second round. After the fight, Dave Feldman said he's interested in a rematch. As good as their fight was, I'm so down for a rematch. This main event for BKFC, that was the main event of the weekend because holy shit, the war was crazy and the vibe on it was good too. Mike Perry's a star, and Eddie Alvarez, legend of the game too. The King of Violence championship was on the line. Perry now gets it. It's like the BMF equivalent of a BKFC BMF. Yeah, Mike Perry and Eddie Alvarez went to war, and I'm definitely down to see it again. And Mike Perry's become a star outside of the UFC, and I think BKFC is blossoming right now because the fight had a big fight feel, and it was awesome. It was an absolute slugfest. So hopefully we run it back. I want to quickly cover that before we sent it off out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed the week's worth of content. I got more content dropping throughout this week. Tomorrow I got, or actually today, if you're watching, December 3rd, I got the UFC full card picks for next week's card dropping. So keep your eyes peeled for it. Smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Make sure to turn on those post notifications too. I appreciate you all tuning in. Drop a W in the comments to boost the algorithm for your boy as well. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.